But yeah, anyway, I've had a really good week. I made my first vlog this week, so went to Urban Surf Sydney finally. Got my second wave pool experience. I was really excited about going to Urban Surf because when I was down in Melbourne, I heard all the rumors. Like 2 years ago, I went to Urban Surf Melbourne, but everyone was saying Urban Surf Melbourne was one of the first wave parks or wave pools of its kind in the world. It was a huge step forward. And it was crazy that in Australia we got such early access. I mean, it makes sense based on our culture to a wave pool like that. But the Sydney one, I was told, will be built with the hindsight of the Melbourne project in mind. So apparently, once they started constructing the Melbourne one, there was a whole bunch of problems that they ran into. They couldn't make the wall around the pool as high as what they wanted. They couldn't make the pool as large, or the lagoon, as they call it, as large as they wanted. And the issue that you run into with the more intense wave settings is first wave's fun because, you know, we're going from like surfing in nature where it's very chaotic, it's random, it's unpredictable. And now we're moving into a wave pool. So like the upside is it's less wholesome, but it's like the good thing of a canned format is it allows you a consistent setting in theory to reliably practice maneuvers. Like I've been talking about so long how I'm trying to practice airs and I want to work on my aerial surfing, but I have to wait for the right conditions to practice it. And then I have to compete for the waves. And that's just all part of the magic that's surfing. But what I was looking to get out of a wave park experience was a wave that is like literally robotic. And just be like, okay, this is the section that I messed up last time, or this is the section where I went for that trick and I didn't land it last time. So now I'm going straight back in 2 to 5 minutes later, and I'm going to have a repeat run at it. But it's just not consistent because the size of the lagoon means that by the time the third wave's gone, so there's 5 waves in a set, there's just backwash rebounding through the pool. And that affects the consistency of your wave. Not only just the randomness of how the backwash behaves, but wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of each set is different. So it's kind of got no upside. It's also like outrageously cold. So it's winter here. Sorry for just bitching. I just need to get this off my chest. It's colder than the ocean because it's out in Western Sydney. So the wetsuit that I wear, that's almost like too warm for this kind of time of year in the ocean in like Wollongong and Sydney, because I don't do well with cold water. I'm a real pussy. I was freezing. Like I was almost like my body was shutting down. This isn't on Urban Surf. Like what I very well could have predicted if I thought about it for a second that it would have been cold. I would have had to upgrade my wetsuit for it. Not just the wetsuit, like people were literally wearing booties because that was the thing as well. Like I was surfing like dog shit. And one, that's on me, but like I couldn't feel my feet. And normally you stand up and your feet will be about where they need to be. But if it's a bit of an intense takeoff, typically what will happen is you just stand up however, and you'll do these with your feet. You know, Jacob, when you're walking out a squat and you just do this with your feet, kind of wiggle them and they just find the correct toe angle, sort of like everyone just does a little bit of a wiggle and you're like, there it is. You just do that when you stand up and your feet will just nicely slide to like where it feels nice. None of that was happening. My toes were like so cold that they were like crossing over each other and getting like folded under my foot. Yeah. So what, anyway, like I said, a little bit humbled, kind of learnt from it. Probably won't be back until the water warms up. It just motivated because I was like, how did I get here? Because I booked in my 2 sessions out of frustration because it had been 10 days since my last surf. And in that period, there'd been no good waves, but there'd been waves. And there'd probably, in hindsight, been waves that I could have had just as much fun with, if not way more fun, if I had just been like, you know what, it's not that good of a surf. I'm just going to go to surf the same way that you go to the gym, even when you know you're not going to set a PR. You're just there to put in the work so that when the good days roll around, you're ready for it and you're going to capitalize on it. And I'm like, I was just bobbing around in that Arctic fucking wave pool. I'm like, yeah, like I kind of got the experience that I needed and I deserved. And it was just like, you know, life giving me that lesson. It's like, surf every day, you stupid dog. You literally moved out of Sydney closer to a better beach to surf every day, and then you ended up catching a train 2 hours into fucking Western Sydney to get a shitty Arctic surfing. I'm like, good, like that's good. Yeah, you're not meant to be able to buy surfing. Like, well, you kind of have to. I've sort of spoken about how you kind of need parents who can afford a house near the beach if you want to grow up surfing. But yeah, just to give you the my full therapy session.
So overall, would you say it was a good experience, like, is the pros outweigh the cons, or was it
yes, because surfing is surfing, and the worst surf of your life is still a good thing. And I made a vlog, and I love making content. And so whenever any aspect of my life and having fun overlaps with content creation, as much as I'm such a negative person, like the way I described that would have painted a picture like I had a bad time yesterday, day before yesterday. But yeah, like I said, overall good time. It was also like me creating these expectations in my head. I'm like, it's not going to be freezing. I'm going to be tearing down the line. I'm going to fucking find this section. I'm going to do this huge punt off the lip. I'm going to do my first grab, going to get my first rotation. So I was setting myself up for a bit of disappointment from the start. You should go. Like, again, I was going in like, you're walking into the gym, be like, time for my 20 kilo squat PR, despite not having squatted in the last 10 days.
Yeah. No, you couldn't expect much from that far away from a surf, like your last surf. But is the benefits like a less wait time for like a good wave, or it's more expecting like
not when you're an absolute animal in the ocean like me. So that was interesting as well. Like the wait time kind of is long, and as much as, like I said, like you would think the predictability of it helps, but something about the ocean and the unexpectedness of the wave that pops up is I think less anticipation helps. Or maybe it's not just that, but you need to adapt to a certain context. And something that's cool, even in challenging conditions out in the surf, is the wave pops up out of nowhere, but you're not overthinking the takeoff because you're trying to position yourself for the wave. You're looking if anyone else is going for it. You might have to like find an angle to sort of try to cut across someone, be like, no, my way, my turn. Because it does get chaotic out there, especially when the waves are good and there's a bit of a crowd. So versus sitting in a queue, when it's your turn. And that anticipation can kind of go either way because you do have the ability to then get in your own head and stuff like that and massively overthink it. So, yeah, like I said, still like I'm sure like the exposure to just a setting like that is helpful. And now it's turned into like a new thing where I want to go back and dominate that fucking wave pool at some point. I feel like I got my ass handed to me by a wave pool, not in the sense that I like fell off and like got thrashed and heaps of hold downs. Like that's not happening out there, but I didn't have my way with that mechanical wave. Not that it is mechanical, but I'm going to go and put the work in and have my way with it at some point over the summer.
I feel like it's like a different skill.
I want to come in and I want everyone who's working there just to be doing this when I come in. I don't know if Riverside is picking up the clapping.
Yay.
Yeah. I want people to be like, high five and be like, bro, like, thank you for that when I come in. That'll never happen. But
as someone who worked in a guitar shop for years and years, please don't be like that.
Yeah, like laying down like the Stairway to Heaven solo and then just like making up comes back. Come on, do you like that?
Dude, like you say that like a joke. That is so much of the gig. Is just trying to like.
What's the go? Like, I see both sides of it because, like, I kind of hate. I don't know. It's a bit of a meme. The whole like banning Stairway to Heaven in guitar stores. I see it, but to me, it's also like an example of the pinnacle of just musicians being cunts. Like someone's in a guitar store buying a guitar, like the thing that like is like one of the better feelings, and like they're playing the thing. And like, even if they're playing it trying to impress someone, or even if they are just playing it for them, and then for someone to just be like, oh, bruh, don't you know that we don't do that? It's like, lame.
Yeah.
I understand.
Honestly, the truth of it is that like, once you've worked in a guitar shop for like 2 weeks, your body learns how to drown out the sound of people playing guitar. Like, it's like an immune response. Yeah. Like, because if you don't, you will go fucking insane. The only people you really notice is like when someone comes in who's like really fucking good, and it makes you kind of go like, fucking hell, who's that? Like beyond that, it's just like white noise in the background. But yeah, it's also weird because like the only people, you get that, and then people who like really push the volume, people that are really like, I want you to hear me. Like you can tell they've come in and they're like, I want you to hear me playing Master of Puppets. Like,
do you remember
for an hour?
Does this experience resonate with you? You know, when your parents take you in when you've decided to get an instrument for Christmas, or I don't know, when you got your first guitar. Like, so they're like, all right, let's go to the music store, find you a fucking instrument. And the guy at the music store, he's heaps cool and stuff. He's like, all right, try this one. And you're just there. not knowing how to play the instrument. Yeah, better do some shit. Like they don't like leave you in privacy. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're there, be like, all right, little buddy, show me how you rip.
That's like my favorite thing to do though, is like when a little kid comes in or whatever, and I don't know, I always just say to people, I'm like, because people are often be like, oh, weird about, oh, can I try this? I'm like, fuck yeah, you can. And I'm like that, fucking crank it a bit. And I'm like, feel free to fucking turn it up, man. Like, go for your life. And like,
play shit loudly. Go for it.
Totally. That's what I think. And you see them, they like hit a chord and it's like loud and they're like, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. And I'm like, fucking yeah, get it.
I forget about that. Like, it's sort of lost on me, but like, yeah, it is like a kid's first opportunity to like make a loud noise and be appreciated for it for the first time in your life.
Oh, 100%. And like people get shy about it. I'm like, if you want to be quiet, be quiet. But I'm like, fuck, if you want to crank that thing, let's fucking crank it. And I quite often do first, like before I give them the guitar, I like play something loud to be like, it's all right. So I can get in there, you know.
Set the tone for
but
them.
weirdly on the stairway thing, it's not really, you don't get much stairway anymore. You don't get much like of that. You get a lot of Do I Want to Know by Arctic Monkeys, and
I was like, yeah, what are the kids playing? Is it Girls by 1975? Fucking.
You get a little bit of Smoke on the Water, but not really, because I think everyone learns that within like 10 seconds of picking the guitar up. So like, I think by the time you're buying your own
even
guitar,
past it by the point you're buying your first one.
Yeah. But honestly, it's Do I Want to Know. You get a lot of Slow Dancing by John Mayer, and I swear there's another one. There was a while there where like a lot of kids were playing the Better Call Saul intro. I think it was like doing bits on TikTok, and like there were like a lot of kids playing it, which was like sick. But like it made me go like, fucking hell, like the world is changing.
Actually, someone, a listener of the podcast, was it Craig or was it Dave? Oh,
was it Craig David?
I'm 90% sure. That's he's funny. I'm 90% sure it was Craig. Shout out to Craig and shout out to Dave as well. Can't remember which one of you said this. They enjoyed the music chat. So segue into, I have been going down a Rick Beato rabbit hole, black hole, because I'm never coming out. I'm gone. Who did he interview this week? He interviewed some legendary sound engineer. I'd never heard of him. Apparently never does interviews. Was working on like Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Was in the background of a lot of the Rick Rubin, Butch Vig. I think he was their go-to knob man.
Yeah, right. Sick.
Did I just coin a new term?
Maybe. It made me laugh.
But yeah, I've just been enjoying because I think I want to talk about this for people who listen to this show who aren't musically inclined. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think of the way Rick Beato talks about music, because something that I talk about, again, a lot in the mentorship, but I bring it up on podcasts and some of my social content. We're always looking for principles when it comes to our training model, or just like how we coach and how we instruct this sort of stuff. And I always harp on, like, if it is a principle, it applies to more than just fitness. Because especially when I think about like really good training principles, like when you're designing an exercise program for someone, I look at it through an economics lens. It's just like resource management at the end of the day. People have time constraints, scheduling constraints. They have like recovery constraints and yada, yada, yada. But then the way that Rick talks about music and the artists that he gets on, a lot of them who I would never go out of my way to listen to their music. Like, I don't like Polyphia, but I will listen to Rick Beato interview and podcast with, is it Tim Henson or whatever his name is, the main guy from Polyphia, who is like, and again, I don't want to listen to Tim play guitar whatsoever, but I do want to listen to how he thinks about music and the theory that underpins everything that he does. Do you watch much Rick Beato? Like, what do you think about him? Because I know he's like one of the bigger YouTube music content creators.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, I kind of can't stand him, but like, it's not because
I saw your reaction. Is it because he is just so big and mad?
No, I don't know how to put this. It's not that, look, because he's clearly very accomplished and he knows a lot of shit. And I think listening to anyone who knows a lot of shit is a good thing to do. And by the same token, he's got like a lot of knowledge, and I've learned things from him, but I think he understands the game to the point that he just comes across in a way that really annoys me. Like, he quite often talks about music in these like finite, like absolute things. And partially, like a lot of the time for clickbait, so he gets the clicks because you read a title and you're like, fuck off, that's like, you know, and then he's got the views. But that in itself, I think, just rubs me the wrong way a bit, because like it's music, it's not finite, like it's art, and there's so much.
I do clarify, yeah.
And he talks in so many absolutes that it kind of just like gets on my tits a bit, because I'm like, I don't know, I think just I disagree with a few things he says, or not even that so much. It's just that, like,
let me be more specific, because I'm glad you brought this up, because most of his content I don't actually like that much. So I'm glad you said that, because again, like a lot of his, I watched one of his like 20 best guitar solos of all time, and then he had another 20 to count down. He's like, you know, a lot of you guys thought that this one would have been number one in 20 of the best guitar solos of all time, but I deliberately left it off because I knew it would drive up the comments. I'm like, Rick, don't leave out like the best example of the video that you're trying to, but that's why, like, I know he's not clickbaiting or holding any of those things back in a 2.5 hour interview with Danny Carey from Tool or something like that. That's been an enjoyable rabbit hole as well, to listen to Tool appreciation from someone who's not a Tool head. Because Tool, I don't want to chat to Tool fans about Tool, but I also don't want to talk to people who can't stand Tool. So it's hard to find those people like, yeah, Tool is sick, but then it goes on for a bit, but it's not like a 3-hour chat about why they're sick. I don't want to chat to anyone who went to, shout out to John Sheridan, I want to chat to you, not about Tool, but I don't want to chat to anyone about Tool who went to every Tool stop on their most recent tour in their country.
Yeah. No, I feel you. And I think that's the thing. I could see Rick being way, because I've not watched like a lot of his like longer interviews and that kind of thing, but I could see him being way more like digestible if he's not the main event of a video. Do you know what I mean? I think on his own he annoys me, but I could see him, if there's someone that he really appreciates in front of him, I could see him being a lot more easier to take in, and ultimately he's just there to facilitate their knowledge coming out.
I think he's a great interviewer in that regard. He does make them the star of the show. Go into his podcast. I think it'll make you like him more, because everything I'm hearing from you, it sounds like what I get from his more clickbaity content, which to be fair is probably like the most of his content, but his deeper dives into the music theory. He also got interviewed from is it Justin Hawkins, the guy from The Darkness, who now he's on a YouTube arc, and again, he's a little bit annoying, but he has
honest,
really
interesting. I actually really like his stuff. Well. To be honest, I think he's really
no, me too. Yeah. I'm more Beato aligned. I don't know, I was got to sort of go with it. There was a specific thing about music, but yeah, like I said, Rick Beato, he's inspired me to like I said, just think about my own principles and my worldview, how it applies to both music and training. It actually inspired me to pick up a guitar, and because you know how I'm tone deaf, or like, I don't know. Is there a test where you can test if you're tone deaf?
I don't actually know.
Because you know how like I've been around good musicians for a long time. Did you ever? No, I think it is. So the reason I'm asking Harvey is because he's been around me in a number of musical contexts, and I was talking about it with my girlfriend. Like I never tried my hardest with ear training, because based on my observation, I always looked at other musicians who, from my observation, they just appeared to be exposed to music and thinking about music for long enough. They sort of intuitively picked up on ear training. And I never got that. Right. And it's weird because like tone deaf people still like some music, don't like other music, right? Like, so they can hear differences in pitch. But I guess it just gets like cloudy then when you're like sitting, you're like, what is that interval? Because again, I heard like some Rick Beato tips. He's like, yeah, just sit down, play a major scale, but just go from like root to second, root to third, root to fourth, root to fifth, and just try to familiarize yourself with all the intervals. And like, I feel like, again, I just started touching up, but then I was like, okay, I want to work out a song by ear, or like start doing it and just trying to work out just like the root notes of that first guitar theme or that sick guitar riff that comes in guitar. And like, that's also like a really bad place to start. Like I need to sit down and like, what would, but even like, I was like, surely, and I'm like, well, it's definitely not in major. So I sat down, I'm like, all right, what's fucking minor scale? I'm like, okay, there's a finite amount of notes on the fretboard. More specifically, like, and that's the thing, like not being able to identify the key, like just sliding up and down the fretboard and just gaslighting myself. Cause like there's so many things that will sound consonant with the root note. And like these are things that like, because I know you hear them as well, and you're like, yeah, like you understand, like if you play the fifth, like obviously it's still going to sound in tune with the song, but I think that's enough to confuse my ears. Like anything that's consonant, I could be confused and be like, oh yeah, I'm hearing the same note. Like not, because like I said, if you play them separately, I can hear an interval. What do you make of that rambling?
I'm not even all that like, when people talk about being tone deaf, I'm not even that sure that tone deaf is a thing. I think people talk about it like it's a condition. Do you know what I mean?
It's
like,
relatively right. Okay.
It's been like actually, it might be. I don't know if that's actually a thing, but I've been in bands with dudes like Thorn, key fucking example, right? We used to play in Hot Coffee together, and he used to sing a few songs, and every time we'd fucking rehearse him, it would be like, what key is he gonna sing this one in today? Like he'd be playing the guitar the same fucking way, but it's like, and you know, and we'd be like, we'd kind of stop and be like, yeah, that wasn't it. And we'd be like, here's your note, and like sing him the note, and he'd just be like, that's what I did. And we're like, just not like, you know what I mean? Like, and again, but like he got so much better. Like I've played in bands with Thorn for like fucking 10 years, and by the end of it, he was a lot better. And like, I think you can get better at it. And by the same token, whenever I used to teach kids guitar, I used to do like just real basic ear training stuff with them. And like, you notice them getting better. And as much and all as I totally stand by, like the best way to get good at working out songs is to try and work out songs. Like I think there's a way easier way to know if you're tone deaf or not. And I don't think you're tone deaf, because I think if I sat down and played two notes,
don't
and
sit
I was
down
like,
with a regularly tuned guitar trying to work out an Enter Shikari song and then
no, that is a recipe for disaster. Like I would struggle to do that. You know, like there's a lot going on there. But like I think if I played two notes and I was like, which one's higher or lower? I think if you like couldn't do that, or were just like had no fucking idea, then I mean,
that to me would be the definition of tone deaf, like how I conceptualize it. Like if you can gaslight someone into being like, no, I went lower when you went higher.
Yeah, that's what I mean. What? I think at that point,
I'm not sure
if
that would do me. I'm not sure. I'm just saying I've done it to myself, leading myself around the fretboard, trying to ear train. I've never done it to myself, like playing a first to a third, like obviously. But then I'm like, is it because obviously I know it's higher because I'm doing it. Like I need to go over to your place and be like, all right, play me some major intervals and I can get my girlfriend to do it.
Though, I think even intervals is maybe like, I just mean if you want to get real scientific about it, I think like take it back to its like most basic principles. If you can hear that one note is higher than another, you're not tone deaf. I think.
I'm just shit.
Really?
But can get better.
Well, I don't think it's that you're shit. I think it's that you're like, I think if you can hear something's higher or lower than something else.
What's the evidence on tone deafness?
I have no idea. That's what I mean. But I think if you can
tell me,
if you can tell me something's higher or lower, that's all
this is an
anything
evidence-based podcast. I wouldn't dream of saying anything that wasn't data supported.
We'd never miscode. Yeah.
Would never even speculate without hard data.
It's in the Cambridge Dictionary. Oh, but it's actually called amusia. It's a musical disorder that appears mainly as a defect in processing pitch, but also encompasses musical memory and recognition.
But that sounds like people who couldn't even like recall a melody.
Yeah, it says symptoms that's what I mean, because are generally categorized as receptive, clinical, or mixed. And it's usually referred to as tone deafness. Includes the inability to recognize familiar melodies or losing the ability to read music notation.
That's what I mean. I think because
it's sounding to me like the tone deafness, the way they're describing it is like you would hear a song and be like, no, I actually can't even tell you the direction it's heading in terms of higher pitch or lower pitch.
That's kind of what I mean. I think as long as you can do that, that's the basis. Anything else from that is just bigger or lesser degrees of that. Something being this much higher, this much lower.
Because I haven't put the work in. This can't be true. It has to be some sort of thing.
There's two different types. There's one that is actually like a cognitive defect or a prior brain lesion or a lack of environmental stimulation. That's
there we go. I'm a fucking idiot. There we go.
And acquired amusia is ones that share the same characteristics, but It's a result of brain damage. You didn't have brain damage, or the music-specific neural networks, musical specific neural networks. But I guess it's the first one.
In terms of like, I don't know, give yourself an easier time though. Like, stop trying to work out into Shikari and try to work out like Wild Thing. Do you know what I mean? Or fucking, I was gonna say Brown Eye Girl, but that might be a little bit weirder. But same deal. Start with real basic stuff.
Can't do Van Morrison, bro.
No, that's fair enough. Start with basic stuff that's easy to hear, and then work your way up. You know. But by the same token, I used to suck at it. Like I used to fucking There was a while ago where like I just like swore off tabs. I was like, I'm not fucking doing it. I'm using my ear for everything, and like we're gonna get better at this. Primarily because I watched interviews with like a lot of my favorite guitar players, and they were like, "Yeah, that's how we did it. We grew up listening to records and working stuff up out from ear, and that's why we're good, basically." And I was like, "Motherfuckers, I never did that." So I like fucking swore down, and like even when I was teaching guitar to people, I'd like work everything out by ear. And then I'd go and like get a tab and like steal it to stop me like fucking writing everything out. Like I'd just steal someone else's and change it. But same deal, I'd like work it all out first. And my ear got like so much fucking better. It's just using it, you know? And it sucks at first. Like, you know, it takes you a fucking while. But like gradually you get better at it, you know? And like sometimes it, you know, there's like one chord that stumps you. But like, I don't know, you fucking get it after a while, you know?
You know what's crazy, Gus? I actually wanted to. I messaged Harvey and said I want to learn a song too on guitar.
Oh yeah, that happened.
So we're syncing. We're in sync.
Dude, is this going to turn into like a live three-way guitar lesson?
I would love that. Yeah. I would love that.
Dude, we might do now that I'm on this YouTube arc. But Jacob, what can you play? Because I know that you can. Like, you're not useless.
I can only slap at the bass. That's it. That's about it. A couple songs
Jesus
here and there.
Christ. Of course, I hired a bass player.
But yeah, now I'm gonna do some more guitar work. I've picked a pretty fucking hard song, but I'm willing to put the hard yards. It's pretty sick. It's that.
Because your dad's a percussionist primarily, right? So there's not like guitars laying around your house.
Oh, there is guitars.
Like a lot.
Actually, speak of it. Whoa. Right
What
on.
is it? Yeah.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yeah, there was a bunch of shit in my house, man. It's Muso's heaven, I guess. But
because it seems like stereotyping musicians like your father. Yeah, they're typically just general music appreciators.
Yeah, I think he has a trumpet. Or a sax. Yeah, he has a sax as well. Yeah, he's just
drummers are either like drums. Well, no, see that, and that's the difference between like your classic drummer and a percussionist. Like even whenever you identify as a percussionist, it just means I listen to music.
I have a deeper
Some people are just into smashing tubs and just don't hear anything else.
Me slap drum. Yeah, no, he loves it all. So,
just to go back to the like Beato conversation, it consistently shocks me how unpretentious Danny Carey is from Tool.
Yeah, right.
Like almost to the point, I find it's really cute when someone who you just think is a technical genius is really modest and stuff. But at a certain point, it probably leads to a bit of a boring interview. And Danny Carey flirts with that I think it's like a 90-minute interview with Rick Beato, but it's still cool. And like you said, he still says some very interesting things about their process of recording an album and stuff like that. But then, I mean, maybe this is the thing when he asks them, any of the musicians specifically about like their intuition and their approach, like it does just kind of flow through them. Like Danny Carey doesn't know how to help people be Danny Carey. Oh no, he does. Yeah. I don't want to take that, but you know what I'm saying. Like, yeah, he's just it's so innate to him, it seems like.
Oh, 100%. And that's almost what I mean about like a lot of Rick's kind of like solo content is that like, I just find that music is so subjective and he seems to want to talk about it in objective terms. And I think when you get someone like Danny Carey, I've not seen this interview, but when you get someone that in front of him, like, you know, if they're like, how do you do your thing? He's quite often going to be like, I don't know, man, just rock up and do it. And Rick could probably sit there and explain it to you in how Rick interprets it and be like, no, he's doing this. But Danny Carey's probably sitting there like, well, no, man, I kind of think about it like this. And it's like, there's no right or wrong way.
And that's why Beato makes it interesting, I think, because a lot of the time he will have a very specific rationalization for what he's heard. And that's what's interesting, like hearing what Rick heard, and then for the musician to be like, oh, it kind of came out of it. Like it was a fart. Like I squeezed and it came out. Not like that specifically, but almost as simple as that.
100%. Totally. Like I don't know. I remember watching this video of his ages ago. And he was basically like, this is why this song is a hit or something like that. Or like, this is why you love this song. And it was like, I think it was All the Small Things by Blink-182. And like, he was basically, his point was, there's this little subtle keyboard thing that runs through the chorus and creates a bit of tension. And the reason everyone likes it is because it creates this effect at the end. And he's right in as much as like, yeah, that is happening. Like that keyboard bit is there and blah, blah, blah. I'm also sitting there like, nah, I think I liked it because I think the melodies, do you know what I mean? I'm just like,
no, but this is because it's funny. Like when you talk about like Rick talking about like the production techniques in the song to like build tension, because I love to quiz Callum Burns,
right? Yeah.
Mutual friend of mine and Matt's, and he was in the Maze, the band that we played in for a bit. And I love listening to Burns talk about music. Whenever we're driving down the coast on a surf trip, I'm like, can you just like yap about music sort of thing? Like anyone who's really passionate and knowledgeable about a topic, same way sometimes people like to hear me yap on about fitness, I like to hear Burns do the same thing about music. And I'll often like quiz him about a technique, like, or like vibrato, or like certain like chromaticism, or like chord changes. And I'm like, what's that do? And like the thing that he always comes back to is like, oh, it kind of just builds tension. Oh, it kind of just builds tension. Oh, it kind of just builds tension. And it just reminds me of the principle of load management in fitness, because like there's so many fitness concepts that, and then you're like, what is this doing? It's like, oh, it's ultimately just like a load management tool at the end of the day. But like in the sense that like you can't just have one technique to build tension and release, because as much as like music is essentially all just like the building of tension, and so is like storytelling, and because writing a song is just a form of storytelling, and we'll go into a tailspin because like obviously this is just like exercise, like tension and release, like just the rhythm and then the way you're trying to take someone in a program and stuff like that. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, I'm just tail spinning sort of just thinking, because everything's not the same. Fuck me there.
No, but what you say is bang on the money, in that like
when you get it does boil down to like pretty simple shit, but then like the sophistication in how you can apply that concept of tension in song creation or of load management. Like, what are your tools for load management? Because I get frustrated by both sides of the load management conversation, because the same way if someone is trying to make their song better, and if you're just like, we'll just create more tension and release, they're like, yeah, I fucking know. Like, and the same when people are like, oh, like I'm not reaching my goals in training, or like it's giving me pain. It's like, yeah, load management. Like, yeah, but how do I manage 100%. It? Like,
100%. And even if you want to go super basic on it, it's like if someone's like, right, well, I'm writing a song, I don't think there's much tension here. I'd be like, right, well, okay, very simply, which bit is the biggest bit? Like, which bit is the crescendo of the whole thing? Which bit is like, you know, the bit of the most like, fuck yeah. And they'd be like, probably this bit. And I'd be like, right, well, you probably want to build up a bit to there, create some tension. And same deal. Like, I'm sure when you guys are programming, you're like, all right, on this day, we're going to go really hard. We're going to max out on this day. And it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do before it? Like, how are you going to get there? Do you know what I mean? Like, same deal. You are kind of like building or you're like focusing on how to get to the big fucking bit. That's the, you know, the bit that really like drives home the point you're going for. Like, whether you're telling a story in a fictitious sense or in like, you're going to fucking look at the thing in front of you. It's like, that's kind of how we work, you know? It's like, we can't just, we're not robots. We can't just come out and fucking, you know, because it won't engage you to do that.
Something that I find like a principle that transcends fitness and music is like this concept of relativity. And it's something that I was sort of, an idea that I was exploring as I was trying to train my ear, was this concept of, I was just alternating between major chord variations and minor chord variations. And the classic heuristic is major chord sounds happy, minor chords sound sad. I would argue that a lot of minor chords still sound happy to me. It's just that major chords often sound sickly sweet. So like minor chords are like relatively darker, but when people are like, oh yeah, minor chords sound sad, it's like I don't connect. That's I don't feel that way at all. Oh, also, this is a rabbit hole I fell down. Can you fucking explain natural minor and melodic? Why isn't there just a minor scale? Because I'm guessing that's natural minor, right? Which Joker brought out melodic minor?
I don't know like the historic relevance of it, but it's just like it's just like anything. Like it's probably just a badly named thing. He's probably just come up with something that's like a bit different to the minor, changed a couple of tones, and is like,
that, please.
I know what you mean. But in this,
like, what are you playing? When I say to you, because I know you would have, if I said play a minor scale, I feel like you wouldn't ask me a question. Or if I said play a minor scale, would you ask me, oh, do you mean melodic minor or natural minor?
No, I just play the natural one.
Okay.
I think that's the normal one. I always get mixed up with this. I think the normal one is natural, so I would just play that one. But I'm not
melodic
a
one
huge scaly boy, to be honest with you.
Like,
Probably. I was actually I remember when we recorded with, you were there, right? When we recorded that EP in Muzz's garage, right?
Yeah, against my better judgment.
I remember Greg was there, and like Greg's this like fucking real cool piano player, singer guy who was like helping us record our album, and like he's just a cool fucking guy. He was like a bit older than us. He kind of been there, done
Genuinely
it.
a bit of a musical genius. Yeah.
He'd had record contracts with Sony. He'd lived in America recording. He'd done the whole fucking thing. And anyway, I think we were talking about something came up about Billy Talent, and we were talking about Billy Talent. Greg was like, yeah, he's like, I love Billy Talent. He was like, it's so cool because they're like so minor, but like melodic minor, you know? And I had absolutely fucking no idea what he was on about. And I know you didn't either, but we both looked at him and we were just like, yeah. Big time.
I know. I bet I did that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I did as well. I was like, I have no fucking idea what he's talking about. Gus has.
Yeah, but I hope he doesn't have a question relating to this.
How do you feel about harmonic minor?
I think you hold this opinion as well. The lead guitarist / like guy that sings backing vocals and Billy Talent, like God, he holds that whole fucking thing together.
Dude, it's one guy. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's why like machine. Like you just get some, and okay, he's not the front man or anything, but wait, hold on, am I tripping? Sorry, is it the lead singer playing? There are three pieces.
Sorry.
No, there is a rhythm guitar.
There's a lead singer, but there's only one guitar player.
That's right. Yeah, because I remember. So my first exposure to Billy Talent was Matt and Sam playing Billy Talent songs like How It Goes and Pins and Needles in like year 9 music for their assessments. But then listening to Billy Talent live, only seeing one guitar on stage, preparing myself for the disappointment and it not really being there, because like they're very much a 2 guitar. They're only just justifiably a 1 guitar band live.
He's a super, super unique guitar player. Like his approach is fucking crazy, and he's such a good singer as well. But yeah, he's one of those few guys who like manages to kind of do it all himself. I think he pulls it off. I fucking love it.
No, yeah, he does. It's I don't know. Like, how do you feel about live performances these days? Because I'm kind of split with it. Like, I love the romanticism of just going up and being raw and just be like, however many guys we decided are in this band, like, doesn't matter if we doubled and tripled every single fucking guitar in the studio and wrote in a whole bunch of like just filler lines and stuff like that. We're just going to just go as hard as we can with the numbers that we have live, not even using backing tracks or anything like that. But then there's something else to be said. But it was like, no, people paying a lot of money, go put on your best show. Like, don't use everything on a fucking backing track. Like, actually play something live. But where do you sort of fall on that? Or does it depend on the artist?
I think it totally
actually, now talking about it, yeah.
I think, look, in a perfect world, I would have, you know, like a fucking orchestra with every show. Like, I'd have everything played all the time. But like, it's not that. It depends on the size of your act as well. It's not that realistic, really, you know. And like, I play in like a bunch of different stuff, And like, yeah, there's like a lot of stuff where you have to use a lot of track or whatever, just purely because, you know, no one's that big, no one's got the budget. And I don't even like, you know, with like music that's a lot electronic, it's like, I don't know, you're still gonna have someone sitting there pushing a button on a laptop and making it happen, you know? Like, but yeah, I think if you've got the budget to do it, like the best shows I've ever seen have always been live bands. Like, you know, like I went to see the War on Drugs a while ago, same deal. Like they have like fucking 3 guys playing keys most of the time. You know, like
yeah, and that's it. Like, it'd be weird to criticize a band for using backing tracks. Obviously, like the key players like have to deliver live in the moment. But yeah, it's like, I mean, man, like having 3 absolute motherfuckers on keys, like that's kind of paying to play in its own way.
And like the same deal, like they had a guy playing acoustic guitar like all night. At least one dude, like they swap around a bit, and like, you know, there's a lot of songs where he's just sitting there going like do like on the chords like the whole time, just that one rhythm,
feeling in space,
but
in
it
frequency.
fucking works, you know. And like by the time someone goes, "What's the best sounding band you've ever seen?" I'm like, War on Drugs, hands down. You know what I mean? And like they had all the dudes, they had all the gear, and just worked. But by the same token, you know, like fuck, I went to see Stormzy a few years ago, and that was huge. It was him and a DJ. You know what I mean? Like, I think it just depends on the context and the show, and like, I think it all depends act by act. But yeah, I don't know. I watched a video the other night of for whatever reason I was on a bit of a YouTube hole, and like I watched A Day to Remember, like a live show of them, and like they didn't have a bass player, and I was like, well, someone's playing bass, like, or something's playing bass. You know what I mean? Like.
I kind of respect it in the sense that they're like, well, people just arbitrarily choose what instruments are on the backing track and what instruments are out there actually being played. Like, why is bass one of the ones that we don't back it? Like, I respect where they're coming from that perspective, but that's blasphemous.
That was kind of how I felt about it. I was like, and especially for a band like that, like I looked at that band and I was like, none of you guys are running real amps, I don't think. Like, it's all relatively... And look, it's also a money-making enterprise. You know, they're playing at a festival, and like, I don't think anyone really gave a shit there wasn't a bass player. And
it sounds like their decision-making tree was like, we have lost our bass player, but he wasn't Jaco Pastorius. Like, you know, it's just...
Also, I've also had that happen. New Year's Eve 2022, 23, I think it was. Like, same deal. Riley got COVID on New Year's Eve, and we were like, we got a show to play, so we got to track that bass. So we put the bass through a track and did the show, and like,
you actually had to record the tracks that are though.
No, well, see, this is the thing, because the way it works.
Or did you have them from pre-production?
Yeah, so we have tracks anyway. We've got like, we had like back and vote, or like we had some stuff coming through track that was like noises and stuff. So it's same deal. Like the way you make track is basically the dude that recorded your stuff, like the engineer or whatever, just sends you the stems, and then you like get into Ableton or Logic or whatever, and you just like leave in the things you want to do track and take out the things you're playing live, and then
that makes sense. But like, don't you want to play a lot of stuff a couple of beats faster live?
Not really. You just kind of have to accept if you're playing with track, that's not how it works. You're playing it to the click, you know.
And you slave to the track,
actually playing better.
Kinda like you well, it's your choice. Either you re-record everything at whatever pace you want to do it, or you don't. But yeah, you then have to play the click, and you have to do it to the tempo of the song, and it's like a bit. Yeah, you do lose a bit of that, but I don't know. It is weird. I was super against playing the click for ages, and then I think it suits some bands more than others. But we started doing it with this band I play for. We did it with Merrick, and
is this like a metronome?
Yeah. So like the drummer plays that metronome, so it's like all your triggered track stuff is like in time with you guys to stop you falling out.
They call it Davis Clarking now.
So they good one. I don't know, it's like you do that, and then I was really against it just from like a principle angle. I was like, no, we'll lose all the excitement and blah blah blah. And then as soon as we started doing it with Merrick, and maybe it's just because Merrick's electronic-ish anyway, it suits her, but like I was instantly just like, no, this is so much better. Like
can everyone hear it live? Surely not.
Nah, you can never hear it live. We're all on ears, so it's in our ears, but it's not in anything else. Quite
Okay.
often, like just the drummer's got it, and then everyone else plays to the drummer. But
Oh
yeah,
shit!
it's just
So you're not a slave to the track. Okay. It's more the drummer
yeah,
trying
the
to keep
drummer
it
is,
running.
but like then it's but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we've all got it
So
in our
the
ears.
drummer,
So it's,
drummer keeps the beat going. That keeps the tempo.
yeah,
usually.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Which is
Damn,
the
I
thing.
guess that
Like, there's
would
been
make sense.
times where like I've had the click in my ears, and then the drummer goes out of time slightly, and you don't know whether to follow the drummer or the click. It's like
Fuck.
it's a bit of a bugger, which is why you need a good drummer. Then it doesn't happen really. But yeah, it's a weird thing, man. But yeah, I kind of love it. But in some bands, I'm like, fuck that. But sometimes it makes a lot of sense.
I was listening to the OG live video that I saw of Sorry You're Not a Winner by Enter Shikari. It's like 2014 Puckle Pop. Sorry, it might even be earlier than that. Maybe it's like 2008 to 2010. I didn't realize that was a 6-year difference I just threw out there. But yeah, it's crazy because they've obviously got the canned intro that's just like triggered all the electronic sounds. But then as soon as they cut to the guitar riff, I reckon he just goes up like 10 beats fucking minute out of nowhere. Like, I don't get, like, you can tell it's like they're opening a stage at a festival. His heart would have been going through the roof, be like, all right, here it fucking comes. But yeah, it's just like, oh wait, because obviously everything else just clicked. And then as soon as the electronic shit cuts off, it's like, all right, here we fucking go. It's just, it hits in a whole different way.
Oh man! Also, guitar players, and I can say this from experience, we have notoriously bad timing.
Yeah.
Like, we are the fucking worst. Give me like fucking 10 beats and no click. I'm gonna be so much quicker by the end.
Yeah, it's like
quicker.
that's what I mean. I'm assuming it was like pretty deliberate because I'm like, man, was there no party that was like, just like feeling the pace of it beforehand?